Hey guys, what's up? My name is Anthony, and welcome to another edition of BNA Sports Talk. So this is a season recap of the Atlanta Falcons and a season preview for the 2019 season. Enjoy. I recorded this, and some segments were recorded like 2 months ago, and other segments were recorded like a couple days ago. But I pieced it all together, so this is my season preview of the Falcons, and yeah, enjoy.
Last season, their story was their offensive line wasn't great. Matt Ryan got hit or sacked. He got sacked 42 times, which was among the league lead. I mean, you had teams like the Texans, the Cardinals, and the Giants who had worse offensive lines, but they weren't up there. Matt Ryan is now into his fourth year or third year in his contract, so he's nearing the end of it, and he's going to need to prove something. He's already gone to a Super Bowl, and I think that the management trusts Matt Ryan to get it done again on offense, but they need to build a championship defense, and I don't really think they did that. I don't think that they built a championship defense in the offseason. Now, who do they have on their roster? Who can do it? So last year, they didn't draft a whole lot of defensive players. Looking on that list of who they drafted last year, it's not really that strong. So let me go down with, they got Isaiah Oliver, DeAndre Senat, and Foyang. Oh, yeah, I can't even pronounce it. These guys aren't on the roster. They're not playing. So obviously the team did a bad job drafting defense. Did they know they were bad drafting defense so they didn't do anything? Maybe. But if you look at what they did in the offseason, they only doubled down on their team. They said, you know what, these guys are coming back from injury. We already made it to the Super Bowl with defense. And that's what they're going to do. If you look at this year's draft, they could have waited to the second round. They traded their second and third round pick to trade up to get another offensive lineman that nobody even ever heard of. Even when Cody Ford was available, even when I think Dalton Reisner was still available at that point, even Jawan Taylor was available at that point. They knew their guys, and they doubled down, and they picked them. Good for them. They doubled down on their offensive line. They're saying, we need to protect Matt Ryan, and we need to trust this defense. We need to trust Dan Quinn to put us in the best position possible. And let's look at the Falcons roster this year and see what they can do and see what damage they can do. Because a lot of teams on paper, they're not that good, but we'll see. We'll see how the Falcons are, and let's see how they are headed into the season. So I want to make a note that their management is really good. Their owner, their general manager, Dan Quinn, their coach, everything like that is good. So they're going to be contenders. Plus, in this NFC South, I think it's gonna be challenging, but not as challenging. I think they're one of the bottom two divisions in this league. You have Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who don't have Jason Pierre-Paul, but they signed Ndamukong Suh. But then you have the Panthers. I mean, the Saints kind of scary, but if you can beat them both games, which is a long shot, but you're gonna be in first place in this. This division is for the taking. So obviously you have Matt Ryan, you have Devontae Freeman at running back, and then you have your three wide receivers. Your offense is perfect. Obviously, you don't have a lot of money for cap. I wanted them to get like Eric Berry or somebody, a defensive leader on defense, but they didn't end up doing it, and they're stuck now with who they have. They doubled down on defense, the right defensive tackle and the right defensive end. Right now, they have Gary Jarrett and they have Vic Beasley in that position. These guys are great. Vic Beasley, I thought they would add another defensive end to help Vic Beasley out. This is one of the highest defensive talent draft. Dexter Lawrence was still available then. A lot of players were still available then, and I guess they didn't see their guy. They had their eyes on a couple guys, but I guess they didn't want to draft a defensive tackle for some reason. I think this would have been a major addition. Now, looking at their secondary, I think it's one of the worst in the league. Desmond Trufant, Keanu Neal, Ricardo Allen, Isaiah Oliver, who they drafted last year. I mean, these guys are in to prove it now. You have to prove it. This team doesn't have a lot of time left, I don't think. Matt Ryan, I think, has 3 years left of elite play. Yes, elite play. He had better numbers last year than he did in his MVP year. And, yeah, so this team, I'm looking at it, didn't have a lot of losses besides Coleman in the offseason. Nothing really of note, but this team basically coming back at the same strength. And I'm always of the opinion, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And they didn't add any free agents because they're paying guys too much. Julio Jones is probably going to get paid $20 million this year. Matt Ryan is getting paid $30 million a year. I don't know. It's a tall order for the team to overcome. Matt Ryan's going to have to take a pay cut in the next couple of years. It's the only way I could see them being successful. Now let's walk through their schedule this year. And for that, I'm going to bring it back to past Anthony, who already explained it for you. They had that heartbreaker loss against the Eagles, another game that ended on the last play. I think they should have won that game. Then you end up losing 3 out of your next 4, and you lost to teams like the Bengals. Not too embarrassing loss against the Steelers. It's not embarrassing to lose to them, but the fashion that they did was crazy. And they started getting decimated by injuries. They were my Super Bowl pick last year. They were my pick to get to the Super Bowl, but honestly, they never got things started. And yeah, that was the main problem with them. And then they ended up winning 3 straight, and it's like, okay, they're gonna get back. And then they lost their next 5, and then they finished off the season strong, beating not too great teams in the Cardinals, Panthers, and Buccaneers. Like I said, the main problem with this team was injury. Their offensive line, they couldn't get anything going together. Kind of like what happened with the Redskins last year. They have good offensive line pieces to keep Matt Ryan upright. The offense was pretty good. I'd leave the offense, honestly, as it is. Julio Jones is a great leader. I don't mind paying him. Just don't pay him $20 million. Just $15 million. Extend him to the end of his career. Give him like a 7-year, $15 million a year with a lot guaranteed. That's the way I would go for football. I think you should go more towards baseball. I know people can get injured, but defensive line is not strong at all. Well, you're strong on the right side. You're strong Grady Jarrett, Vic Beasley, 2 great players. Vic Beasley, I think he just needs help. Needs some leadership on this defense, which is why I would bring in a free agent like Eric Berry, like I've been mentioning the whole time. If you look at their but look at this. Look at their ages. 23, 22, 27, 28. Really young. And especially their linebacking core, 25. Well, I'm rounding, but you get the point. They have a really young team, and you have to build camaraderie through this team. They had a really young defense going into the Super Bowl, and a lot of these players from that Super Bowl team are still on the roster. They haven't lost that many guys. You just need to remain healthy, and that's a major question mark for every team. Obviously, if the team's healthy, every single team would be able to compete pretty much, unless you're the Browns. But, I shouldn't shit on the Browns. But that's the main story going into the year. Can this defense build camaraderie? And, I think this team is able to compete for a Super Bowl. I like their numbers. People are overrating the Saints. I think the Falcons are the team to pick in this division to upset to win. Look at the Panthers, Buccaneers. I think they're going to be in the bottom of this division. And let's just look at their schedule and see how good they can be. They have a new offensive coordinator that they brought in. Their head coach is defensive minded. He's Dan Quinn. He's the one who brought the Falcons actually to the Super Bowl. And he won a Super Bowl with the Seahawks. He took a lot of young defensive talent on Seattle to the Super Bowl, and they won that. He brought a lot of young talent to the Super Bowl against the Patriots, and it was the Patriots. Tom Brady, he actually struggled in the beginning of the game, but eventually you're going to get burned. This team is only getting older. They're only getting stronger. I'd bring in 1 or 2 free agents, but the thing is they should have, but they don't really have a lot of money to spend, so obviously you can't do that. The Falcons are in a position where they have a lot of young talent that they need to prove themselves first, to prove that they're a Super Bowl winning defense. Because if you look at their offense was, top 5 ranked last year. It was the defense that kind of let them down. It wasn't like the Falcons. The Falcons were not like the Vikings. The Vikings were playing catch up. The Falcons were competing in games, and they were trying to outgun the team. This reminds me of Giants from a couple years ago. You had a top-ranked offense, but then the defense was kind of lackluster. You need the defense to come together, and that's done by bringing in some free agents. I think they should have been a little more active in free agency. They have a great offensive line. Great. It'll keep Matt Ryan upright, but defense wins championships, and you can't have a 25th ranked defense and win a championship. And that's why the Falcons are in a tough spot this year. The guys coming up that are now 25, it's their 3rd year in the league. They have players to compete with for a roster spot. It's not just, okay, you guys get this position, but it's more competitive, build a little culture. You start off at Minnesota, which is I think Minnesota weird, but it starts off in Minnesota, and I think the Falcons, if they could get through this first half of the year unscathed, you have to play teams like the Colts, the Eagles, the Seahawks, and the Rams, but after that, After you get through that, the second half of the schedule, I think it loosens up a little bit. You play the Jaguars and the 49ers, but you also play the Panthers, and I think the schedule lightens up just a little bit. Schedule isn't rough this year. This year they can make some real noise. They can reassert their dominance in this league, in this division. It was their division for a lot of years. You had the Saints, the Panthers, who had their a couple years, but I think this is Atlanta's division to lose, believe it or not. Even though they finished, I think, second to last in this division last year, this is their chance to reassert their dominance. They have a pretty easy schedule, and going for it, I think they can get up to 13 wins this year. If they catch fire, they can repeat what they did in 2017. I think the magic is still there. A lot of people on this roster are from that team. I just wish that they had another defensive end and their secondary was a bit better. But then again, you have Dan Quinn. His success with Seattle, I think it could be good enough for the Atlanta Falcons to return to the Super Bowl. And yeah, I'd put my money on them to win the division if it's a good number. I don't remember what it is. And I think that they're in the Super Bowl bubble, clearly and obviously. And I'll give them a top 5 chance in the NFC to make it to the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, balls bounce different ways, but I can see the Atlanta Falcons making the Super Bowl. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like rating. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.